So in our last video, I'm just going to go over with you on how to sew these squares together neatly. You've put all your effort into getting your squares ready. I haven't blocked these. I sew them together before I've blocked them because it's very clear where you need to sew them in. If you want to, you can block them individually. I tend to block them once I've sewn them in and put my border on. So I'm just going to show you quickly. I use mattress stitch to sew the squares together. You could do it just like a quilt that you would make strips of your squares, sew them together, and then sew the strips together. I'm not going to sew a strip together to each side to show you it's not tricky, but sometimes where they meet it can be a little bit awkward. But the good thing is that these are squares and they have the same number of stitches for each side, or they should do. Let's hope that you have that. And I'm going to show you using a different coloured thread than I would normally use so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to thread my yellow yarn and if you go to a corner, the three group there, if you come up the middle of that second double crochet, that's where we're going to start. But to attach your thread properly, work away from that at the back and just pick up a couple of loops. And then come back on yourself, and then that won't work loose. And we're just going to come up that second double crochet of the three group. So we've come up that one, and then bring up the corresponding other side, and you're going to find that second double crochet in that group and go down and then up into the next stitch. You can see I'm working between the front and the back loop through the center of the stitches. Then you would go back into the same stitch on the other side that you came out of, in and up through the next stitch, back over to the other side, into the same stitch and up through, over to the other side, into the stitch, back up the middle of the next one. And when I tighten it, that should more or less disappear and you're left with a neat edge. Just bear in mind that you have got the same number of stitches on each square and you've got anchor points, so you need to line up this side with this side and then the corners. So I'm just going to keep going. And then every few stitches I'm just going to tighten it. So you just keep going, and then when you come to these edge points, just make sure that you correspond neatly. I'm just gonna do that here. So here I'm just going to pop across to that one, and here I'm just going to pop across to that one, so that you pull it together neatly. There are lots of different ways of putting these squares together, but I think that a nice flat neat finish suits the design.